Good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, September 13th, 2022 Public Works Committee meeting. Now is time for a roll call and determination of quorum.
Evans. Here. Roberts.
Here.
Ham. Here. Stroman. Here. Lehman is absent and we do have a quorum.
Thank you. And now is time for the adoption of the agenda. I have a motion to approve by Councilman Evans, a second by Councilman Stroman. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Now is the time for general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the committee on any issue not limited to items on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. And I don't see anybody for public comment. So I will open that and I will close that. Then we'll move on to consent items, items 1 through 14, and I will turn it over to Dale Tech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go through these items quite quickly, and please stop me if you have any questions, or certainly we'll have time for comments at the end as well. Item number 2 is change order for the debris fence project out at solid waste for a decrease. Item number 3 is an amendment for HDR engineering. This is the state bridge project over La Crosse Street. We added some additional work to the project to repair, I believe it was Maple Street. This is added value, expanding the project, getting additional improvements under the same construction contract is always a good thing to do when the bid prices are set. Item number 4 is an agreement to take a look at the Red Rock Canyon Drainage Basin Design Plan update. Every so many years, roughly every decade or so, we take a look at the roughly 21 or 22 drainage basins that we have in the city and update them based on existing conditions, what's been constructed over those years, and then also take a look at how development is impacting those basins. So for this go around, it's the Red Rock Canyon Drainage Basin. Item number 5, West Plains Engineering. So this is for electrical work at our wells 10 and 11. Item number 6, once again, Racetrack Draw Drainage Basin. FMG is currently under contract for that, and I believe this is a time-only extension due to some changes that have occurred out in that area for development. Item number 7 is a emergency procurement. As you all well know, we had a failure at a metering facility that impacted our ability to provide Ellsworth with water. That was rectified in short order. RCS Construction worked with us closely to get service back to Ellsworth. We believe that the total amount will still be under the bid limit, so we're just doing this out of precaution to be able to make sure that the services are procured properly. And once again, I'd like to thank RCS Construction for basically dropping what they were doing and able to help the community out to restore service. Item number 8 is our annual snow removal rental for equipment rental. Once again, we budget $100,000. We don't know how much we're going to spend. That money is included in our snow removal budget. Item number 9 is a purchase of a skid steer loader for our water department. Item number 10, MOU. We work closely with the Pennington County. If they have county roads that make sense for us to remove snow on and vice versa, we update that regularly. And if you look at the attachment, we're within just a few tenths of a mile on what we're exchanging. So it saves money for all of the citizens of Pennington County and Rapid City for us to exchange these snow routes. Good thing to do. And then items number 11 and 12, this has to do with the transit award management system. The Federal Transit Authority requires certain approvals for transit staff to be able to log into the system for grant management purposes. So these items need to be approved, I believe, for Megan and for Kendra over at Transit. Normal business items that have to be approved to satisfy FTA's requirements. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Biegler for item number 13.
Thank you very much. Item number 13 is authorization to go out to bid for the Canyon Lake Park Pond Wall Reconstruction Project. This is the phase 1 of this project, and we are seeking authorization to advertise for bids.
Mr. Chair, item number 14 is a vacation of right-of-way. This is in particular to a section line highway. This is located out on the eastern portion of our city in an area that we have come to know as Shepherd Hills. Recently, you approved a preliminary subdivision plan to create a development known as Shepherd Hills South Subdivision. The intent is to put single-family residential lots adjacent to the section line highway. Because of the setback requirements to a section line, it's essential that they vacate this right-of-way. We did receive concurrence from all of the utility companies that they are in agreement with the vacation. There is a transmission line within this section line, but there is a separate easement for them. That easement will be retained, and they also are in agreement with vacating the section line highway. So with that, we are recommending to approve. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, if we have anybody that has, go ahead, Mr. Stroman.
Thank you, Chair. May I address Director Tech?
You may.
4. You mentioned that it's advisable to do these studies periodically, especially, I think, when I look at this map, there's been a lot of construction in that Red Rock Canyon area. And I remember a few years ago when people in town, well, specifically around Arrowhead Golf Course, were complaining about all the water that was coming down when we were getting heavy rains, and it was coming onto the golf course. Is that coming from this area? Is that why we need to study this kind of stuff?
Actually, those are two separate basins. The basin you're referring to is the Arrowhead Drainage Basin, and so this would be a little further to the west, and then ultimately drains down Red Rock Canyon, which comes out above Canyon Lake a little further to the west. So close, they're adjoining basins, but two different flow paths there that you're talking about.
Okay, but the goal again is to study how the development is going to affect drainage of water into the lower areas or the surrounding areas.
That is correct, yes.
I think that's a very worthwhile study that we need to have, because development in that area is increasing, and it's also having an effect, I think, on other areas of the city. So thank you. I yield.
Anyone else have any questions? Can I just take 1 minute to ask a couple questions myself? Dale, on item 7, when was that metering facility actually built?
I believe it was 2014 or 2015.
Okay. And do we know what caused the failure?
We don't yet.
Are you looking into what caused
Yeah,
the failure?
there will be another project that'll be coming along to excavate to see what the mode of failure was on that.
And once we excavate, are we going to rebuild that metering station, or are we going to let it meter at Ellsworth?
We don't know. We do have redundant metering. Ellsworth meters, we metered, so that's yet to be determined.
Okay, all right, thank you. If there's no other questions, I'll look for a motion. Have a motion to approve items 1 through 14 by Councilman Evans, a second by Councilman Ham. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to non-consent items. Items 15, and I will open public comment. And as soon as I get that, I'll figure out who it is that's going to be speaking. No. You can just stay up there if you want to, Annie, and just give us your name, and since there's only one item, I know which item you're speaking on.
Good afternoon. My name is Hani Shafi with Dream Design, and speaking on item number 15, which is a temporary turnaround exception. This temporary turnaround is located at the end of Cadillac Drive, which is adjacent to a farm ground. The length of the road is approximately 130 feet, and the design engineers and the city staff worked on doing a temporary turnaround at the end of that cul-de-sac, which made the access to the farm ground next door to be near impossible without doing a lot of work. And it will also require a temporary turnaround access easement, which will be placed on the property for a long time, because that road cannot be extended to the west at this time until sewer comes in from the west. The turnaround purpose is for emergency turnaround for a fire truck if there is a fire in one of those two lots. The National Fire Code requires only that turnaround be installed if the length of the road or the dead-end road is more than 150 feet. And in this case, the road is 130 feet long. The City of Rapid City has adopted the National Fire Code. I believe 2003 is still active, and that requirement is still there, and still there even at the new National Fire Code. So we request that this turnaround be waived and taken out, and the easement be vacated. That would really make the access to the rest of the property a lot more accessible, and may even allow better fire protection for the adjacent structures that are located on the farm ground next door. Thank you. That complies with the city specification and with the National Fire Code. So requiring that turnaround is actually beyond what is required in the city specs and what is required in the National Fire Code. Thank you. I'll be available for any questions.
Thank you. And do we have any questions from the dais? Mr. Evans?
Yeah, I've been looking here at the map here, and I honestly don't see any reason why that creates a hazard at this point. I'm looking at the larger map. I'd like Ms. Fisher, if she is the one who answers this one, to explain why this variance couldn't be granted.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Why, to Ms. Fisher, why is this a planning thing, or would this be a fire code thing?
Well, it's both Public Works and Fire Code.
Well, explain why this particular thing, if he's right about our specs and what we designed to, why this particular variance can't be granted. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking sometime in the future that's going to be continuum. Explain the logic that is being denied.
Oh, I guess I'll jump right in. The original exception request that was submitted did not include any of this justification that Mr. Shafi just talked about. So this is all new information. With phased development, which this is anticipated to be, there will be a future road there. The requirement is to provide a temporary turnaround on that road, regardless of the length of the turnaround standard. And the reason for that is if there are houses constructed on Cadillac Drive, it's more than just fire protection. There is garbage, so garbage needs to get in there, and backing garbage trucks down roads is very hazardous and risky and needs to be avoided. We did work closely with Mr. Chaffee's design engineer. Originally, it was supposed to be a full-blown round cul-de-sac. Obviously, with the grades and such there, that was changed to the T turnaround, and I believe it's already been built. I'll let Chip chime in on the fire protection side of that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, we don't have any issue with the variance, you know, for us to turn around and stuff. It's already there, so we don't have any opposition to this. He's correct on the distances, so.
Well, and then in this case, if we would have to change this particular vote then, or would we just not approve it? How does it work?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, you can just simply approve the appeal, and then I think that will suffice for what the applicant's requesting.
Well, then in that case, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the appeal rather than deny it.
Yep, you're right.
Is that how it works? Right. I guess I need a second then.
Is there any more questions before we go to the vote? We have a motion to approve the appeal from Councilman Evans, a second from Councilman Stroman. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Point of privilege?
Yeah, I just want to ask a question. And we voted, 7, 8 months ago to allow that. Is that at the end of Forest Hills Drive, that new developed that rezoning where they split the lot on the edge of Skyline Drive, which created a lot of consternation there on the hillside. And one of their objections was the neighbors, was the runoff. And I received in the last few weeks a lot of pictures from the neighbors and the mud 2 and 3 inches deep that's run down that road every time we have one of those cloudbursts, including that giant one we had about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. And I was just wondering, is there any kind of a vehicle that we have for rectifying the problem? Because I believe they were supposed to have that road paved or something, or gravelled or whatever, but right now it's still running mud every time it rains down onto the street, leaving a big mess for everybody else. What kind of recourse do we have to either make people follow up on cleaning it up, or is that just tough luck for the people that were opposed to it the first time? I don't know. What is there something we can do?
Mr. Chair, so the neighbors that were in opposition to the application to rezone the property, the rezone is in compliance with what is there. They have platted the lot into 2 lots. So what you see is single-family residential construction. They are completing the lot that they're going to live on, the homeowners, and they're selling the lot that they created to someone else to build on. This is still going through a stage of construction. The site is ongoing. Anytime there is a complaint, it goes to Public Works. Dale's team responds. They go out to make sure that the wattles are in place, and they are. Sometimes if the water has moved them, they get placed back. There's been a lot of correspondence with Dale's team and the area property owners. But again, this is one of many properties in town that has some soils that are not with seeded conditions, and anytime it rains, we're going to have runoff then into the streets. This one is being closely watched, but to my knowledge, and for some reason I am always included in those emails, Dale's team is responding with each and every complaint and going out and ensuring compliance. In time, the driveways will be paved a minimum of 50 feet back. The homes will be constructed, the site will be finally seeded, and a lot of these issues will go away. But just as when those homeowners, when their homes were being built in this area, this is a part of the pain of growth and construction in an area that's experiencing infill development.
Well, I guess my only question is, in the meanwhile, while we wait for that to be finished, do the people, because as you know, we'll get a cloudburst and nothing for 3 or 4 weeks. Now, do we just wait for the mud turn to dust and disappear? Do we send a street sweeper up there? Do we do anything to kind of alleviate the issues in the meanwhile? Or do we not even accommodate them in that way? I mean, Is there anything we can do? Because I know that's kind of a big mess, especially when the dust starts blowing.
Well, there again, I know that Public Works has a plan in place for cleaning of streets. If we know of an issue and there's a staff member out there and they see that there's soils in the road or rock in the road, I would assume that that gets pulled up on the maintenance plan, but I'll defer to Dale on that.
This type of issue is one of the most frustrating things that we deal with as a community. You have construction, you have growth, our semi-arid nature with downbursts really causes issues with erosion sediment control. If it's coming from private property, it's a private property owner's responsibility to address that. Our ability to force somebody to address that is limited. Once again, we do the best we can with the resources we have, but unless we're willing to write citations and tickets for that, I don't see it changing. And trust me, we've got a lot of dedicated people that are saddled with trying to clean this up every day. As far as us sending a street sweeper up there to pick up somebody's responsibility, we don't have the resources to do that either. Certainly if there are issues that would be a public safety issue as far as mud on the road or something, yes, we would clean that up on the public side of things, but this is a very frustrating issue, and I understand the property owner's frustration with it as well. So, you know, we do what we can to enforce the rules, but it's difficult for us to, without a big hammer, to make any large effects.
And I get that, and to me, it's sort of similar to some of these code enforcement things where we eventually end up sending the homeowner a bill, and perhaps maybe if this is an ongoing problem, we need to do that. Normally, a little bit of runoff isn't a problem, but in this case, I mean, you've got a couple inches of red mud that's there in the middle of the street, and I don't think that's anybody's right to impose that upon their neighbors. So maybe we need to look at this heavily next time this comes around and see if we can solve it through assessing them, just as we've done in other situations where you create a nuisance. So that's the only reason I brought it up today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm still looking for a motion to adjourn. Have a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor? All opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.